Chapter 424, 276 Lions Roar Dispels Demons 3K. Their eyes. Some angry, some sad, some tired, some resigned to death. They were martial experts who had died in the demon cataclysm, mostly Shaolin monks, with many wearing Taoist robes or uniforms of unknown sects. Facing a common enemy of humanity, the grudges and deceits of the martial world became irrelevant. Unite and live. Divide and die. Sadly, under the feudal dynasty system, with families and sects divided, achieving unity was too difficult. This vision was only realized when Wan Shixian broke through the seventh layer. Countless voices exploded in Lu Chenju's mind. Filled with fervor, his blood boiled. His spirit felt like it was about to burst. These chaotic martial intents, seemingly benevolent, posed a greater threat than the remnants of demons, easily ensnaring one's mind. The giant martial arts tree in the inner realm swayed, emitting soft green lights that filled the world, solidifying the martial arts inner realm like a fortress, unshakable. Protected by the will of the giant tree, Lu Chenju's spirit stayed firm. Those benevolent martial intents were also dispersed. Moods are indeed useful. Lu Chenju opened his eyes clear-eyed. After the purification by the Tao essence in the demon-suppressing tower, his spiritual power had subtly increased, and the martial arts tree in his mind grew silently by 6 feet, reaching a height of 36 feet. Not bad. Chuo Tian head monk had been watching Lu Chenju's performance closely. To disregard both the demons and martial intents of the demon-suppressing tower, the strength of this boy's spirit far surpassed many who broke through 2 layers. A major sign of a peak figure was having martial intents far exceeding one's current cultivation. Lu Chenju met this criterion. Such individuals were destined to leave their mark on the peak of martial arts. Lu Chenju looked around and found himself in a cave. 2 old monks with the aura of grandmasters were guarding this place. They too seemed surprised by Lu Chenju's performance. Chuo Tian head monk sincerely thanked them. You two have had a hard time. The void realm has been unstable recently. Please keep a close watch. The old monk said, We guard this place and will not let demons infiltrate the human world. Lu Chenju felt deeply moved. The foundation of the Shaolin temple was truly profound. Every significant place was guarded by nameless grandmasters. These powerhouses had almost never appeared publicly. The old-school Buddhist powers truly knew how to hide, and the force they displayed was just the tip of the iceberg. Compared to Tianxia's 9 major new powers, their foundation was indeed lacking. Leaving the cave, the two stepped into the outside world. In a rush for time, Chuo Tian head monk led Lu Chenju through a narrow valley in the catastrophe-forbidden zone. Triggered by someone's death-defying physique, they coincidentally encountered a withering wind disaster. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The bone-eroding savage wind howled, the world shrouded in darkness. With unmatched skill and courage, Chuo Tian head monk smiled and said, We won't take a detour. I'll show you the withering wind disaster. The old monk wanted to take this opportunity to show Lu Chenju the strength of Buddhist law. All right. Saying this, Chuo Tian head monk grabbed Lu Chenju's arm and soared into the air. Immediately, circles of shining glaze-colored true gangs surged out, transforming into a vast ocean of glaze that swirled around the old monk, forming a barrier. Amidst the world, 13 giant dragons roared tumultuously, and 13 giant elephants stampeded. With the roaring of the dragon and elephants, the aura was majestic. Lu Chenju couldn't help but be amazed. Dragon-elephant heaven-supporting divine skill. Chuo Tian head monk laughed. Indeed, I, a dull monk, have only managed to reach the 13th layer. The terrifying black wind struck against the glazed barrier, completely shut out. A great grandmaster could ignore most heavenly calamities. Lu Chenju took the chance to ask. Senior, if it's not too presumptuous to ask, how long did it take you to practice the dragon-elephant heaven-supporting divine skill to the 13th layer? I heard it's the most difficult among all inner strengths in the world. Chuo Tian head monk recalled. The first 6 layers weren't very hard. I advanced to master at 30 after accumulating enough Buddhist foundation surpassing my peers. Then I started learning this technique, reaching the 6th layer in 3 years. The power of the early stages of this technique is mediocre, not particularly amazing. After the 6th layer, the difficulty steeply increased. From the 7th to the 9th layer, it took me 20 years, and from the 10th to the 12th layer, it took me 60 years. Because of this technique, even with my innate Buddhist sun ability, I only advanced to Grandmaster after my 50s. Honestly, I had some regrets at the beginning, only blaming my own youthful arrogance and not listening to my master's advice, wasting my golden years. Before Grandmaster, the dragon elephant heaven supporting technique didn't have much advantage. In combat, it was just so-so, and I felt disheartened, feeling that I had ruined my great martial path with my own pride. The real issue before me at that time was whether to continue this technique or to switch to another. Do you wish to learn this skill? Lu Chenju shook his head, smiling. I currently lack the courage. With other paths to heaven available, why choose to walk toward the Tiger Mountain? Chu Tian head monk laughed heartily. In this case, I have also earned a merit by using my own experience to dissuade people from around the world from cultivating this divine skill. The sky-climbing Dharma King misunderstands me. With him as a negative example. Aside from the Dragon King, hardly anyone inquired about this divine skill. Soon, an old monk and a young disciple crossed through the catastrophe of the barren wind. Coincidentally, they encountered a group of elder vulture races. These demons circled high above the two, their eyes greedy. For flying demons, Lu Chenju was helpless. Chuo Tian head monk said calmly, "Seal your senses of hearing." Lu Chenju immediately controlled his muscles to block his ears. The old monk took a deep breath, his chest inflated significantly, resembling a large drum, and faintly it seemed as if a golden lion with wings on its back was descending. The mount of the Bodhisattva Guanyin, golden lion. Roar! The old monk exhaled forcefully, his voice spreading across 10 miles. Boom! It sounded as if thunder was rolling across the heavens and earth, the terrifying roar of the lion echoing through the valleys. Wherever it passed, whether elder vultures or other demons, they fell to the ground, dead with blood flowing from all orifices. Some of the weaker ones had their heads exploding into a mist of blood. Naturally, there were a small few that were unaffected. These creatures were of lower level, lacking intelligence and a sense of hearing. Unable to hear, they also didn't fear the sound wave kill. Blood rained from the sky. The old monk's complexion was rosy as he said, "Collect these demonic materials. Since we're here, we should bring something back." "Thank you, Senior." Lu Chenju immediately began collecting the remains around him. He indeed sensed the presence of many great demons. The leader of these elder vultures was even a shadow level. These remnants of demons would guarantee him tens of millions. After cleaning up the battlefield, the old monk asked, "You have not learned the Vajra Lion Roar, have you?" "I have not yet learned it." "Would you like to?" "Yes." To cultivate this method, it is best performed early in the morning during the yin hours, in a secluded deep forest that doesn't disturb the residents. Sit facing north with your legs crossed, head straight, body level, connect the mud pill palace to the dantian in a line, eyes slightly closed, tongue against the upper palate, eliminate all personal and distracting thoughts. First, exhale the stale air, then deeply inhale as long and steady as you can, then release the breath with 4 types of breath sounds: wind-like, panting-like, resting-like, and chi-like. When perfected, these 4 breath sounds will be extremely refined and can be combined into a powerful thunderous roar. A single lion roar is like the thunder god striking a drum, mimicking the divine thunder high in the heavens. Know that thunder skill is the utmost yang and firm method, the nemesis of all demons and ghosts. This is the principle of subduing demons with the Vajra lion roar. Heavenly Dragon 8 sounds function similarly. However, 8 sounds are more complex, consisting of 8 extremely difficult to master sound parts: stick, kill, snatch, capture, traction, pull, twist, hammer. Not even I, the old monk, can master them all. Sound-based martial arts demand high requirements on one's aura and throat, so it's best to practice often. Chuo Tian head monk explained as they walked, and Lu Chenju learned as he followed. Suddenly, he inhaled like a drum and exhaled like thunder. Roar! A lion's roar erupted, tinged with a hint of tiger roar. The old monk laughed. "It's mixed, but it doesn't matter. There's no need to be fixated on the original sound. Each person's timbre is different, as long as when you roar you have the presence of the golden lion." Lu Chenju scratched his head and chuckled. "I have taken the lesson." He couldn't help it, as the influence of the tiger form was deep-rooted. This lion roar inevitably contained a flavor of the northeastern tiger. The old monk thought for a moment, then encouraged. "With your talent, you can succeed within a year." The old monk still didn't know Lu Chenju deeply enough. Otherwise, he would not have prematurely evaluated his cultivation progress. After going around in circles, Lu Chenju still learned the Vajra lion roar from Chuo Tian head monk. On the martial arts tree, a new leaf emerged. Vajra lion roar, beginner 6%. Songshan City. Rather than a city, it resembled a giant Buddhist temple, with 100-jang-tall golden body Buddha statues standing in the plaza in front of the city, radiating immense Buddhist might. Pavilions and towers, all styled like temples. Masters were frequently seen, many dressed as monks. The foundation of Songshan Martial Arts University lies here. In the center of the city stood a small mountain. Atop the mountain was a temple named Little West Heaven. Chapter 425. 277 Dragon Blood Tempering Body, True Dragon Treasure Chi, 3.5K for monthly tickets. Please subscribe. Although this place is the everyday residence and cultivation spot for those at the absolute peak, there are no shortage of monks and visitors coming and going, creating a bustling atmosphere. In the main hall of Little West Heaven, a figure with white eyebrows sat on the floor, meditating before the Buddha statue. The inner strength cultivation of Buddhism tends to focus more on spiritual practice. Hence, meditation is an indispensable part of the daily practice, similar to Po Suo practitioners. Chuo Tian head monk pressed his palms together and said, "Abbot, this young friend has an important matter to see you about." The figure with white eyebrows turned around. This was a weathered, time-worn old face. Compared to the vibrant Dragon King, the abbot could be called an antique, born in the era of the last dynasty, just like the dragon and tiger Grand Sky Master and the Four Symbols Master. He witnessed dynastic changes and the passage of time. An extraordinary and transcendental aura had already seeped into his bones, saintly and Buddha-like. Even if the heavens shattered and the earth cracked, he would not show a hint of alarm. Commonly labeled as numb to it all. Seeing too much could lead to this. In comparison, the Dragon King felt more like a hot-blooded youth, full of life and emotion, and even at the absolute peak, he did not forget to be a little juvenile. Master Huikong calmly asked, "What have you realized in the kitchen?" Lu Chenju honestly replied, "The junior has realized a remarkable method from the patriarch and wishes to present it to the senior." Master Huikong's eyes reflected the worlds in all 10 directions, thoroughly perceiving Lu Chenju. He nodded and asked, "What sort of remarkable method?" "The 3 worlds and 10 directions Venerable Sutra." Upon hearing this method, Master Huikong's ordinarily still eyes sparkled with a flicker of discernment. Suddenly he smiled knowingly, mumbling to himself, "It seems that my thoughts and those of the patriarch coincide unexpectedly. To refine the heart, one must first encounter tribulations. Like the world venerate, one should traverse the 10 directions of the world, comprehending the myriad sufferings of all beings, even to the extent of cutting flesh to feed eagles, so as to attain great wisdom and the great Buddha heart, and to realize supreme divine power." Master Huikong spoke incessantly, talking to himself. Chuo Tian head monk seemed to have an epiphany. Lu Chenju could also vaguely understand some of it. The wisdom of the absolute peak was truly terrifying. He had only mentioned the name of the cultivation method. Master Huikong had gone on for an entire hour. Lu Chenju was astonished. The abbot often talked to himself, answering his own questions as if he were conversing with someone else, making Lu Chenju suspect for a moment that the abbot might also be communicating with some ancient Daoyuan. Otherwise, it would be somewhat schizophrenic. In the end, it was Chuo Tian head monk who clarified for him. The abbot cultivates a special secret technique that allows the birth of an other I within his mind. The other I and the true I are like 2 sides of the same person. When the abbot ponders, he lets the other I and the true I debate scripture, thus mutually corroborating and arriving at a more accurate conclusion, endowing the abbot with the great wisdom of dual perspectives. Lu Chenju listened, baffled but impressed. "That's amazing." Beyond that, he had nothing else to say. Such a method was beyond him. Every absolute peak opened his eyes to new horizons. Unconsciously, the abbot had debated with his other self and true self for 2 hours. "Amitabha Buddha, I have understood." The abbot pressed his palms together, thanking the ether. He smiled and said, "Ding Yuan, transcribe the method transmitted by Mr. Lu, and bring it to the scripture pavilion. Inform the monks that only those of master-level cultivation should cautiously practice this method to avoid misleading themselves. Also, take Mr. Lu to the treasure pavilion, and let him select a yellow-grade heavenly material and earthly treasure and a lower-grade divine weapon, and also gift him a Dharma order. Chuo Tian head monk remarked. Abbot, aren't you going to take a look at this cultivation method? Master Huikong shook his head and cheerfully replied. I already have a rough idea of what the patriarch's method entails. It converges with my own path in different ways. There's no need to look far when the answer is near. Although I respect the patriarch, I believe more in the method I've created and do not wish the patriarch's method to sway my thoughts. As he spoke, the old monk exuded confidence, alight with radiance. At that moment, Lu Chenju deeply felt the self-assurance and presence of someone at the absolute peak. What of the ancestral methods? I have my own path. This indeed is what makes a pathbreaker. Lu Chenju felt his spirits surge. He too wanted to become such a person. But at the current stage, he ought to dutifully learn the ways of his ancestors. After all, those at the absolute peak exceed the foundations from which they arose. He had a long way to go before he could be on par with the divine monk Kangwen. That night, having fulfilled his promise to the divine monk Kangwen, Lu Chenju wasn't in a hurry to leave the Shaolin Temple after selecting an earth treasure at the treasure pavilion, which he needed time to assimilate. Settling into a guest room, Lu Chenju took out a set of prayer beads. On the strand, there were 4 beads the size of bodi seeds. Such a fine thing, I didn't expect to find such a divine weapon. The strand was known as the giant rat chain, crafted from the fangs of a creature similar to the boss snake but even more powerful, the giant rat, an earth-grade mutant beast comparable to a master. Born with 4 sharp fangs, each tooth contained a universe capable of storing hunted prey within. A single hunt could involve capturing hundreds or even thousands of prey, hoarding them like a storing rat, excessively greedy, thus also known as the greedy beast. It is worth mentioning that this strand of beads was once a divine weapon of an emperor. Each bead held a storage space more than twice that of the swallowing elephant belt, totaling about 10 times more together, eliminating his concern about space. Furthermore, as the giant rat chain was later nurtured by a high-ranking Buddhist practitioner, it was full of spiritual energy, so it also functioned somewhat like a spiritual artifact bead strand, protecting the mind and spirit. All in all, among all the lower-grade divine weapons in the treasure pavilion, this one was the most valuable and practical, no less than an intermediate divine weapon. In an instant, a transparent glass container appeared in his palm, containing a section of ginseng that resembled a strand of dragon whisker, lightly fuzzy and emanating a gentle gold sheen. The yellow-grade treasures in the Shaolin treasure pavilion were not as numerous as Lu Chenju had imagined. Most of them would be consumed by disciples shortly after their discovery. This was to enhance the efficiency of talent emergence. Among these, the majority of the yellow-grade earth treasures significantly boosted chi blood, and in ancient times, they were the kind that increased one's internal strength by many years upon consumption. Such treasures were more useful for those with average aptitude. However, for Lu Chenju, they were somewhat redundant. His chi blood rose too rapidly. As for treasures that increased the speed of acupoint opening, they basically started at the Chuan grade. Such high-level treasures were usually given priority to grandmasters for consumption and use. Earth-grade or higher heavenly materials, none existed. The one in front of him now, however, was the dragon whisker fruit. Its effect was to undergo dragon blood tempering body and to cultivate a stream of innate yellow dragon treasure chi within the body. Yellow dragon treasure chi was part of the innate dragon chi. If blood lotus treasure chi was incessantly life-giving and could quickly heal injuries, then yellow dragon treasure chi would strengthen bones, harden the skin, enhance physical constitution, and provide a certain degree of cross-training talent above ordinary people's powerful physique. Not only yellow dragon treasure chi, but also higher-level treasures. Xuan dragon treasure chi, earth dragon treasure chi, and the legendary true dragon treasure chi must contain this effect. These 4 great treasure chi together constituted the innate dragon chi system. Generally speaking, heavenly materials and earthly treasures with dragon in their names all contained innate dragon chi. Take the heavenly grade treasure dragon blood coral, discovered in the East Sea. When Lu Chenju attended the sect's tea gathering, He heard a secret that the Kangshan Dragon King's rapid breakthrough 7 was partly thanks to this treasure. It contained the highest level of true dragon treasure chi, which could replace blood and reforge the body. This allowed the naturally top-tier talented Kangshan Dragon King to add a final flourish, obtaining the legendary true dragon treasure body. Practicing dragon form martial arts became as easy as picking up something with his hands. Principal Wang had witnessed the Dragon King in battle, transforming his muscles and bones with divine martial arts and powerful chi blood, becoming as if by immortal law, 100-jang-long divine dragon, majestic and extraordinary. This too was thanks to the true dragon treasure body. The dragon whisker fruit contained no demon energy and could be consumed directly. Upon entering his mouth, the treasure turned into a stream of golden warmth that surged into his limbs and bones. Having consumed heavenly materials and earthly treasures twice before, Lu Chenju was well practiced. He operated his inner strength, allowing the medicinal power to circulate in the grand circulation, sinking to the Danshan and rushing up to the Nuan Palace. In an instant 3 hours passed. Boom, boom, boom. Inside his inner realm land, earth-shattering changes were taking place. Around the columns of the nearly completed divine palace, an invisible aura of dragon might emanated from a yellow dragon coiling around it. It was like the dragon pillars in ancient palaces, lifelike and eyes glittering golden. Lu Chenju stood with his hands behind his back, gazing at the yellow dragon. The yellow dragon treasure chi is truly a treasure of the earth element. Thick, solid, powerful. That was the feeling the yellow dragon gave him. In a thought, he arrived at the life spring. With his cultivation improving, the water had become a pool of emerald water about 10 jang in diameter. Eternal life force bubbled up from here, and in the center of the spring stood a blood lotus, unsullied by the mud from which it grew, standing elegantly. Innate blood lotus treasure chi, a wood element treasure endlessly living. Heavenly materials and earthly treasures, too, corresponded to the 5 elements. Those that could give birth to special chi were the same. The fire element is volatile and unpredictable, the gold element is sharp and unbeatable, and the water element overcomes the hard with soft. If opportunity arises in the future, it is possible to collect all different attributes of treasure chi. Once born, treasure chi brought lifelong benefits. With the rise of cultivation, they could all be powered up to some extent, which is why treasures that could foster treasure chi were so priceless. If encountered, they must be consumed. In a way, each stream of treasure chi was a minor skill. Leaving the inner realm land, Lu Chenju gently shook off the blood armor from his body. Crackle and pop. He stood up, muscles and bones trembling, space bursting with sound. Just how strong has my physical body become? Leaving his residence, Lu Chenju practiced his punches in the courtyard under the moonlit night. Thunder roared, a sight formidable and stunning. Next, Lu Chenju took a trip to Mount Laojun, paying a visit to observe the hidden abode of the Taoist ancestor Laozi, a figure of true grandmaster status. As he expected, there were no great discoveries to be made. In the era Laozi lived, martial arts had only just begun to rise, and breaking through the first constraint was considered a top-notch expert in the world, whereas breaking through the second made one an ancestor figure of hundreds of schools. Even with thoughts far ahead and important status, if the power level was too low, it was not possible to leave behind any Daoyuan. Even if there were any, they would dissipate over time. The Central Plains, the cradle of Dazia culture. Lu Chenju stayed here for a while longer. He traveled at dawn and went into seclusion at dusk. He visited every famous historic site, regardless of whether there was Daoyuan, contemplating historical traces and Dazia culture. When encountering demons causing harm in the human world, if he could overcome them, he would strike with a roar of injustice. And if not, he would flee to report and inform authorities, all in one go. Gradually, Lu Chenju got a taste of the happiness of Elvizu. Being chivalrous was indeed the unique romance of Dazia martial artists. Unconsciously, the martial arts tree in his mind had grown to 12 zhang high, opening 140 apertures. While visiting, he arrived in Jin Land, searching for cultural relics on Jin Land. Thanks to a massively popular game in recent years, many of its historic sites became widely recognized. From time to time, people came searching for ancient relics, and some civilian elephant form masters, upon encountering Lu Chenju, couldn't help but ask for a challenge, hoping to spar for a bit. Lu Chenju, also itching for a fight, approached it with the mindset of playing in the human world, engaging in a joyous exchange with everyone. The challengers were all ones who had broken one constraint, with varying levels of cultivation. He had not faced defeat on this journey. Being chivalrous and punishing demons, he defeated all martial artists in the world. On the internet, Lu Chenju's popularity soared anew. Quietly, he had surpassed the four great Taoist body figures. Some people called him a new leading figure of the younger generation in Dazia. Some said that Lu Chenju would surely win the Tianlu Cup in the future. Some said that all of Dragon City's fate now lay with Lu Chenju, nurturing this true dragon. Next, it was feared there would be no successor. Various voices existed, but Lu Chenju treated them calmly. Having conversed with sages, his perspective grew increasingly elevated. Of course, he continued to keep in touch with his sect and loved ones during his travels. He learned that Li Gui and his wife were now living in seclusion on Kunlun Mountain, enjoying great happiness. Beyond the 3 mountains and 5 peaks, Kunlun is an outer mountain. Majestic Kunlun, the practice ground of the Queen Mother of the West. Since ancient times, countless tales of immortals and mystical tracks have been told. It had also given rise to characters as extraordinary as Elder Leisure, praised by forefather Zhang. Lu Chenju decided that the final destination of his travels would be Kunlun Mountain. Chapter 426, 278. Great sound is inaudible, great shapes are invisible. Monk Ling Kong takes the first step. 4K. November 1. Wutai Mountain. Under the world venerate, there are 4 great bodhisattvas. Among them, representing wisdom, Manjusri Bodhisattva, whose domain is right before us at Wutai Mountain, while the other 3 domains are at Mount Puchuo, Jiuhua Mountain, and Imei Mountain. The Buddhist 5 schools consist of these 4 major domains, plus Songshan Shaolin. Wutai Mountain, the human world Buddha country. It not only gave birth to Wutai University, but also served as the cradle for Dragon City Martial Arts University. For this place was the origin of Master Ling Kong. Taiyuan Temple. Among the lofty mountains, a white tower of several dozen meters stands. Compared to the bustling and noisy Shaolin Temple, Wutai Mountain is quiet and cold. Aside from the sparse travelers, there is not a single martial artist. The winters of the north bring endless cascades of falling leaves. Beneath the tower, an old monk is sweeping the fallen leaves. Lu Chenju stands quietly under the tower, appreciating the ancient charm. Judging by the monk's demeanor, he seems to be an ordinary man, not a martial artist. Are you Lu Daxia, the chief of Dragon City? I don't deserve such an honor, just call me Lu Chenju. During this period, due to his acts of chivalry, Lu Chenju had earned himself a reputation among the common people, which embarrassed him. His modest cultivation was not worthy of such a title in an era filled with formidable figures, a title that in ancient times belonged to great leaders who saved the nation and the people. The old monk chuckled. What's to deny? Great or small heroes, all are heroes, able to punish the evil before them and perform good deeds within their capabilities. That's what makes one a great hero. Though a martial arts grandmaster's cultivation is high, if they disregard us ordinary people, they are not as respected as a martial artist like you. Lu Chenju nodded slightly, agreeing. Heaven knows, his acts of chivalry were also a way to earn some money. But as the saying goes, judge a man by his actions, not his thoughts, as long as the outcome is good. He asked, Old Master, is this the place where Master Ling Kong had once practiced? The old monk nodded, continuing to sweep the ground as he leisurely said. Centuries ago, Master Ling Kong also swept floors here. His original name was Li Daxiang, which he thought sounded terrible, so he changed it to Li Ling Kong. The Li family were prominent traders from Jin. From a young age, he was well versed in the classics of the 3 religions. Disliking politics and business, and after an arranged marriage fixed his fate, he bade farewell to his wife on their wedding night, fleeing from home to hide his identity on Wutai Mountain, seeking a master to learn the arts. However, Master Ling Kong had only low-class root bone and limited talent, eventually assigned to the chores courtyard by the recruiting master, unable to become a martial monk or practice any fist techniques. He swept the spot daily, frustrated with his lot. Lu Chenju sighed. Root bone, it's always the root bone. 2 words that have foiled many heroes. Back then, the talent selection system wasn't perfected, resources were scarce, and feudal remnants were strong, making it extremely difficult for those with low-class root bones to change their fate. In this era, even ordinary people without root bone can live without worries about food and clothing. Back then, natural and man-made disasters occurred frequently, and turmoil was rampant. Not to mention, demon ghosts lurked in the shadows, choosing their victims. How could the lives of ordinary people be good? The old monk exclaimed. Root bone is innate, dividing people into different classes from birth. Martial arts is still cruel. As his horizons widened, Luchenja knew that root bone could be altered. But heavenly materials and earthly treasures, how rare are they? This path of changing one's fate against the heavens is destined only for those with great luck. As for awakening the martial bone Tao embryo or having sudden enlightenment, those are as likely as winning the lottery, hard to make popular. If martial arts were not limited by root bones, or if the restrictions were a little looser, human civilization would surely unearth many frustrated and buried talents. That truly would be a world where everyone is like a dragon. Unfortunately, from ancient times to today, no one has been able to change this iron law. The old monk said, during the time Master Ling Kong swept floors, he wasn't idle. As soon as he finished his chores, he would watch the martial monks practice their boxing and stealthily learn from them. He was indignant. Why couldn't someone with a low-class root bone practice boxing? At that time, among all boxing lineages, Tai Chi was revered, giving rise to numerous experts and a multitude of grandmasters. 8 extremes and 8 trigrams were also not inferior. Within the Buddhist tradition, the main techniques were Arhat, Vajra, and Bodhisattva styles, supplemented by Zen sect methods for cultivating the mind. This was the orthodox way. Elephant form fist existed since ancient times, but was mostly scattered among the common folk or some minor, unremarkable forces. Then Shaolin Temple as well, which had many elephant form fist boxers but low quality and very few grandmasters, with never a great grandmaster. Master Ling Kong started with phantom boxing since his talents were poor, and he practiced a mix of styles from various schools, despite not entering the innate realm by the age of 40. Lu Chenju laughed. Master Ling Kong is a classic example of a late bloomer. The old monk sighed. It was also because he was a late bloomer that Master Ling Kong's subsequent rise was as brief as a comet. He almost broke through the 6th shackles, ending 1,000 years of history set by Zhang Zhu with a single comment. But alas, he was taken by a heavenly calamity, dying with regrets. Such a pity, such a pity. Lu Chenju also knew these histories. But he quietly listened, allowing the old monk to explain. He felt that the old monk really needed to share this with someone. Years of sweeping were too monotonous and too lonely. The old monk said, in his unconfused years, Master Ling Kong left Wudai Mountain, deeply feeling his own dull talents and genuinely lacking the aptitude for martial arts, decided to do something unprecedented. He resolved to visit the 3 religions, travel across Dazia, collecting and compiling the scattered elephant form fist techniques from among the common folk, making his brief life worthwhile. Following the path of heavenly way Taoist Su Zia hidden, he began a 20-year journey around the human world, calling himself Great Elephant Foolish Monk. Eventually, in his 60s, he finally compiled the Wangxiang book, which could change the history of martial arts. Upon its completion, he had a moment of enlightenment and entered the innate realm for the first time in his old age. Chapter 427, 278 Great sound is inaudible, great shapes are invisible, Monk Ling Kong takes the first step. 4K/2. Lu Chenju's mind was flooded with the martial arts resonance of Ling Kong Shangren, a 60-year-old martial artist, still undaunted, determined to be the founder of elephant form for the sake of the world. Truly, an extraordinary person. At this time, his chi blood was aging, no longer in his vigorous youth, having missed the golden and silver eras. Even if it was an epiphany, it would be difficult to reach breakthrough 2, let alone become a great grandmaster. The old monk said, Ling Kong Shangren indeed had great fortune, entering into the innate realm at an old age, against all norms, making rapid progress. He chose tiger form fist from the Wangxiang book as his main focus, after overcoming numerous disasters, astonishingly becoming a tiger form grandmaster at the age of 100. Lu Chenju also remarked, Ling Kong Shangren was indeed fierce, missing the age of cultivation and entering the Tao in old age. Over 40 years from martial artist to martial arts grandmaster, in that era, The difficulty of achieving this was no less than Master Jai becoming a grandmaster. The old monk said. Eventually, Ling Kong chose to integrate and pass through dragon and tiger dual forms. Over 100 years, he became the first elephant form great grandmaster. By then, he was 200 years old. Lu Chenju said. Dual forms are difficult, dragon and tiger dual forms even more so. But there was no choice back then. The foundation of the elephant form single-sect martial arts was weak, far inferior to boxing lineages such as Tai Chi. If one wanted to dash to a higher realm without adding dual forms, the chances were slim. In fact, as he knew, Four Symbols Master, practicing four forms, was also because in his era, advancing to the absolute peak with a single form in martial arts was too difficult. Other than adding other forms, there was no other way. Although Kangshan Dragon King advanced to absolute peak with dragon form, it was because the elephant form had developed over generations and had a deep foundation, and the Dragon King himself was also proficient in the three religions. Dragon form was only part of what the Dragon King learned. Although there were many elephant form sects, individual sects lacked a deep foundation. These were characteristics that arose early on from their folk origins, and still are the case to this day. The old monk said. At this time, Shangren still had 200 years left to live. He once again sought truth and visited Tao, delving into the netherworld in search of treasures and trying every possible way to prolong his life for decades. He tried to reach the sixth realm with the Four Symbols technique, solving Zhang Zu's difficult problem. However, destiny played its tricks just on the eve of his great enlightenment. His time arrived. The old monk's gaze was complex, his eyes moist. He softly sighed. He only said one word before passing away with regrets. Lu Chenju said, to learn the Tao in the morning and die in the evening is still worthwhile. Historical scholars have compiled the 3 regrets of martial arts. The first regret, Heavenly Master Zhang's misguided path to the 5th realm with an outer elixir, dying after breaking through. The second regret, Zhang Zu failed to break the shackles of the 6th realm, understanding the mystery just before death. The third regret, Ling Kong Shangren's time was near just before full enlightenment, ended in regret. Nature is indifferent. No matter how brilliant you are in the face of death, all beings are equal. The old monk lamented. However, the disciple of Ling Kong, Four Symbols Master, proved that the Four Symbols technique used initially not only allowed him to enter the 6 realms but even to knock on the doors of the 7th realm. He was right. Now the foundation of elephant form is profound and far surpasses before. For any major sect's cultivators, there's no need to practice multiple forms, and yet they can break into the 6th and even the 7th realm, indeed a fortunate thing for the younger generations. After saying these, the old monk continued sweeping the floor. Lu Chenju stood silently, appearing contemplative. A moment later, he looked at the old monk and said, the elder's deep research on Ling Kong Shangren is no less than that of historians. The old monk proudly smiled. I have been studying Shangren while sweeping these years. If the elder wishes to switch careers, perhaps to teaching, I could recommend you. No need with this dying body, better continue sweeping. Then, elder, carry on with your work. I will go look inside the tower. Go ahead afterward. You might also visit Lingjiu Temple, Longquan Temple, Buddha Light Temple and Nanshan's ancient sites on Wudai Mountain. You might gain something. Thank you, elder. Lu Chenju entered the White Tower and turned to look. The sweeping old monk looked up and asked, anything else? Nothing. Lu Chenju shook his head and disappeared. He had been left somewhat paranoid by Kongwen Divine Monk, always feeling that this old monk might be an illusion created by Ling Kong Shangren. But now it seemed the old monk was indeed an ordinary man. Even among the common folk, extraordinary people could be born. Inside the White Tower, Lu Chenju carefully perceived the traces of Dao Yun within. He stood at the window, looking down at the sweeping old monk. The old man, tired from sweeping, sat on a chair, wiping sweat and drinking water. Lu Chenju's hand gently brushed the ancient wall. Closing his eyes, he sensed with his heart. In his mind, faintly came the sound of boxing. Here it comes. He opened his eyes and found himself amidst vast mountain ranges. Below the White Tower, the tree shadows were mottled, time seeming to rewind and change. Ling Kong Shangren's face lit up with joy, and he hurriedly ran away. Lu Chenju, as if having activated God's perspective, had once again experienced the entire life of Ling Kong Shangren as told by the old man. It started from secretly learning fist techniques up to leaving Wudai Mountain to wander, entering the innate at the age of 60, and becoming a grandmaster at 100. These, he had experienced once again. Although there were discrepancies compared to what the old man had said, overall, there was no significant difference. It seems that the old man is indeed not Ling Kong. The vision reached the last scene. The lamp was out of oil and Ling Kong Shangren, surrounded by Death Qi, was researching the classics of Jiangsu. Behind him were the Qi of the dragon, tiger, tortoise, and vermilion bird, shapes that resembled the four extremes of heaven from De Zia mythologies, the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. These factions were all highly difficult. Talents as startling as the four symbols master had also chosen to take a step back, opting for lower versions. Principal Wang was merely among the three symbols. As an ancient figure given the conditions, they were inferior to the present. All one could say was, deserving of being the patriarch of the elephant form sect. Lu Chenju admired him. If it weren't for his imminent end, Shangren could have truly become a top-level four symbols heavenly king. He sighed inwardly. Ha, so it is, so it is. Suddenly, Ling Kong Shangren put down the book and danced. He had finally glimpsed the scenery of the sixth realm. After a nostalgic reflection, his once youthful and spry face quickly withered like the last autumn leaf before winter, bleak and forlorn. Ling Kong Shangren didn't hang his head in despair or sigh continually. Step by step, he moved to the white tower where he had swept the floors in his youth. Around him there was no one. He quietly leaned against the Buddha statue and went into a deep sleep, a smile on his lips. To hear the Tao in the morning, to die content in the evening. His eyes sparkled with anticipation. Shangren's form dissipated, and his qi transformed into the phantom of the four symbols, soaring into the clouds. Boom, boom, boom. The bell tolled. Across Wudai Mountain, countless monks lifted their heads, their eyes trembling. The patriarch has entered nirvana. Did Shangren still fail? It was so close. I would give all my remaining years for Shangren to have just one more year. Me too. If only heaven had eyes, heaven could lend Shangren another 500 years. Frustration, indignation, sadness, a mix of emotions interwove. Buddhist disciples had hoped that Shangren would be the first to enter the sixth realm. They were full of expectation, envisioning the future of Wudai Mountain. Unfortunately, there were no gods in this world. Praying to heaven, it wouldn't work. If heaven wouldn't give it, they must seize it themselves. Thus, Shangren passed away contentedly. Under the canopies of heaven, an aged, compassionate phantom looked down at the monks below and smiled. The great era of martial arts is upon us. Soon, someone will enter the sixth realm. Whether it is Buddha or Tao, it is no longer important. The path of elephant form, flourishing until today, is already not weaker than other paths. This poor monk has spent his life merely unearthing a fraction of the potential of the elephant form. The future world will surely be a world where the elephant form shines brightly. After saying this, the aged phantom suddenly looked toward the white tower. He seemed to see Lu Chenju by the window. Predecessor and successor gazed at each other across the misaligned timespaces. Lu Chenju paid his respects in a grand ceremony to the preeminent figure. The prospects of elephant form sect, just as the patriarch said, perfectly accurate. In this era, elephant form was indeed producing numerous strong figures. Its profound influence rivaled Taikai, transcending the distinctions between Buddha and Tao. Ling Kong Shangren turned around, the four symbols followed, and soared into the heavens. Seeking truth and pursuing Tao, mastering the three religions. Delving into ancient changes, integrating elephant reasoning with Zen. Using techniques to prolong life, universally ferrying the sentient. Bearing this method forever, passing it down endlessly. The voice echoed between heaven and earth. This poor monk Ling Kong taking the lead. The illusion shattered, and Lu Chenju's eyes slightly reddened. By now, the sun had already set in the west. The old monk sweeping the ground had just finished his chores. He looked up and greeted. Mr. Lu, take your time looking around, just make sure to close the door when you leave. I'll be off. Lu Chenju waved and said, Old man, take care. Under the setting sun, the aged figure faded into the distance. At this moment, mismatched timespaces overlapped. Lu Chenju stood silently, pensive. Until in his mind, a voice came from the martial arts tree. The unseen great elephant, incomplete. Incomplete technique, unable to cultivate. Chapter 428, 279 Peerless Remnant Chapter, Defying Innate, Changing Fate and Transforming Bones, 3K. The chapter of the formless grand elephant. Great sound is inaudible, the grand elephant is formless, derived from Tao Te Ching. Ling Kong Shangren, versed in the three religions, dwelled within the Buddhist sphere, but his knowledge was not confined to the distinctions between these religions. The martial arts information granted by Ling Kong Shangren was vast. Lu Chenju shut the door of the White Tower and locked himself inside to contemplate its principles. Unaware of time passing, it was already night. A middle-aged monk with light steps approached the outside of the White Tower. His gaze was profound, his face was white and beardless. He stood outside the door, silent and still. The founder of Wudai Martial University, Master Chuankong, a breakthrough 6th boundary peak expert. He had heard that the top chief of Dragon City had come here to attain enlightenment, and personally came to check. This young martial artist on his journey had indeed made a great name for himself. Everywhere he went, he sought enlightenment, even causing Zhang Zhu to reveal his divine presence. It was said that he had successfully comprehended the supreme marvelous methods in the kitchen of the Shaolin Temple. Master Chuankong was also one who had succeeded in enlightenment in the kitchen, understanding its substantial value. This meant that Lu Chenju had a deep Buddhist connection. Although Wudai Mountain and Dragon City had become separate entities, due to sharing a common ancestor, the relations between them were still good, sharing both honor and pride. Seeing such achievements in their junior, Master Chuankong naturally felt gratified. He stood silently in the darkness, like a statue. Inside the White Tower, Lu Chenju had fully digested the information conferred by Ling Kong Shangren. He was astounded. His emotions took a long time to calm down. Such a secret method. The chapter of the formless grand elephant was a method conceived in a flash of enlightenment by Ling Kong Shangren. Rather than martial arts, it was more akin to an idea and a thought. Ling Kong Shangren had no time to refine and perfect it before he passed away with regrets. If the elder had successfully broken through the realm, and with his astonishing wisdom perfected, today there might be another foundational method similar to Dragon and Tiger Heavenly Pile. The chapter of the formless grand elephant transcends even the category of supreme divine skills in its tier and intent. It is neither a fist technique nor inner strength. It does not boost chi blood, nor can it be used in direct combat. It is a method that could potentially transform the elephant form sect and even martial arts. Its purpose from near to far maintains two objectives. First, using the form of the acquired to reverse the principle of the innate, altering the root bone qualification of elephant form fist, creating true from false through practice, creating elephant form root bone beyond low, intermediate, and high class. Second, dissolving the barriers of the elephant form sect, where the grand elephant is formless, uniting all phenomena. These two functionalities, picking any of them, is of a rebellious sky-defying level. And it aims to address these two simultaneously, adding difficulty upon difficulty. Therefore, it was merely a concept and a starting point. To refine it might require generations to experiment. With Lu Chenju's current scholarship and cultivation, like reading cryptic texts, perhaps it required gathering the wisdom of top experts from around the world, united in their efforts, for a possibility to exist. This would be a prolonged, enduring battle. If successful, the Xia martial arts would ascend to another level. Lu Chenju's emotions returned to calm. Difficult indeed, to some extent, this method has exceeded the realm of martial arts, as root bone is determined by the innate. How difficult is it to alter it through the acquired? The chapter of the formless grand elephant, changing the root bone theory, indeed understandable. Lu Chenju had also seen similar views in the works of martial arts theory scholars. Using the form of the acquired to reverse the principle of the innate. In short, it meant using the elephant form fist techniques created later to deduce and evolve in reverse, reshaping the mortal bone bit by bit, altering it to suit the root bone necessary for practicing this fist technique. This process was relatively long and would also need to be paired with the great medicine to aid the transformation. Once the root bone is successfully altered, it evolved from a common low-class root bone into a form nearly akin to an intermediate-class root bone, an innate form. For instance, if a practitioner of tiger form fist reicites in this alteration, according to Ling Kong Shangren's idea, he could develop an innate tiger form, making him a natural tiger form prodigy in the eyes of ordinary people, doubling his training efforts. In Dazia, the birth rate of intermediate root bones was 1 in 100. If this method could produce more innate forms, the base number of Dazia martial artists would surely explode in growth. Even if not everyone could become a dragon, it would greatly alleviate the pressure of the void realm. Many were buried due to poor root bones, although outstanding in other areas. Meeting the right opportunity, these individuals could transform, their future achievements not limited to being martial artists. Speaking of which, the principle of the chapter of the formless grand elephant is indeed similar to my stacking the divine seed on the martial arts tree. Only this method involves two intricate processes, and currently, Ling Kong Shangren's theory can only alter up to the intermediate root bone level. Ling Kong Shangren didn't create this method for himself. He did it for all elephant form cultivators in the world, for those born with mortal bones. He had experienced the pain of mortal bones and wanted to change this scenario with a grand aspiration. This was what shocked Lu Chenju the most. Ling Kong Shangren had great vision, courage, compassion, and wisdom akin to Manjusri Bodhisattva, worthy of the title of elephant form ancestral master. At this moment, he gained a deeper understanding of the martial arts resonance, left in the inner scenery land by Ling Kong Shangren. Li Lingkong wishes for all the elephant forms in the world to rise from the mountains, to cleave the heavens and walk. Lu Chenju mused. However, to truly realize this method, there are too many actual problems to resolve. Firstly, it's difficult for those with low-class root bones to practice the fist techniques. Some with dull comprehension might not be able to completely master a third-rate fist technique even past middle age. Talking about changing one's root bone. Secondly, the auxiliary great medicine required. If according to the elders' thinking, it would be best to use the mutant beasts corresponding to the elephant form as a guide, causing the human form to subtly match the animal form, to strive for the evolution towards the innate form. In doing so, one somewhat walks the path of some evil skill, which can easily spout side effects and hidden dangers. It might not be right. Moreover, how rare are these mutant beasts? It's hard to meet the broad needs of the public, and as for using demons, the risks are even greater. One careless move, and one could transform into a demon and fall into the embrace of an evil god. Without great medicine as assistance, changing the root bone is too difficult. Most ordinary people inherently lack the talent, and if such people are instructed in a cultivation method that they can never master, it has no meaning whatsoever. Instead, it delays their martial arts cultivation. These were problems that Lu Chenju could foresee with his vision. Practically speaking, there were even more issues. Changing the root bone was extremely difficult. It was no easy feat for Ling Kong Shangren to propose a solution. As for the second objective of the Phantom Boxing Invisible chapter, it was Ling Kong Shangren's envisioned ultimate goal within the elephant form sect. The phantom becomes invisible, all phenomena return to one, and there would no longer be any distinction between sects in the elephant form, only one form of boxing that embraces all and accommodates a myriad of streams. Elephant form fist. What form it takes is determined by each individual's preferences and capabilities. A specific form selected in the early stages can also be changed later without too many restrictions. This is the ultimate realm of the elephant form fist technique. Harmonious and in unity, yet distinct. In short, this grand aspiration is too far-fetched, like a utopia. Though Lu Chenju has the martial arts tree, he feels it's as difficult as ascending to heaven. Thus, his martial arts goal will not change, and he will continue to focus on mastering tiger form, complemented by swallow form or even higher-level bird form. That night, Lu Chenju's knowledge broadened once again. His mind and spirit seemed to have ascended. He looked at the martial arts tree in his mind, which had surprisingly grown an additional 20 feet. 15 feet tall, it now had the semblance of touching the heavens. His boxing realm had significantly improved from when he first entered the 5th realm. But the fog before entering the 6th realm still obscured his vision. Proving my path is too difficult. This realm, many grandmasters have never set foot upon. He wasn't in a hurry, letting nature take its course. After traveling for months, he had come to terms with it, harboring an enterprising spirit while carrying a bit of the leisurely demeanor of a mystical sect monk. The night deepened. Lu Chenju did not leave the White Tower. He simply began cultivating the Bodhi technique right there. This secret method, ever since he had an awakening at Shaolin Temple, had seen rapid progress in cultivation, with the second layer almost reaching perfection. At that point, besides the ability of minor bodhi body, another ability emerges: minor bright mirror pupil. Bright mirror pupil, an eye like a bright mirror, akin to the Qi observation technique of Taoists, allows one to observe others' Qi mechanism, and from the Qi mechanism, accurately gauge their cultivation level, emotions. It is said that some experts can even experience mind reading through the Qi mechanism. Of course, that isn't in the scope of bodhi technique. At least, it's considered a supreme divine skill, and only those with profound Buddhist law and deep cultivation can comprehend it. Lu Chenju estimates that Master Huikong might possess this divine ability. The Qi observation of the minor bright mirror pupil is limited to those whose cultivation is more or less equal. With Lu Chenju's power, he could, at most, observe the Qi of a first-stage martial arts master. Observing the Qi of a martial arts master was clearly impossible. He entered a deep meditation state, observing the blue-robed Buddha shadow in his mind. Bodhi originally has no substance. Bright mirror also is not a platform. While cultivating, he pondered Buddhist theory. In this pure place of Buddhism, cultivating Buddhist law indeed yielded better results, whether it's the ancient Tao Yun or the deep historical cultural essence formed by Buddhism. These profound matters subtly enhance the efficiency of cultivation. Buddhist and Taoist experts all cultivate in these places for this reason. The eastern sky showed the white of a fish belly. Lu Chenju's tightly shut eyes opened. His gaze was clear and pure, like an ancient well without ripples. In his pupils, which reflected tranquility, the 3 realms and 10 directions were mirrored. At that moment, his Buddha nature grew richer, not resembling a young man in his 20s, but instead a veteran monk who had practiced Zen and explored Tao for decades. Of course, this was all an illusion created by the Bodhi technique. There are no shortcuts in Buddhist cultivation. Even though he possessed a Buddha body, instant success was impossible. If I were to wear a cassia and shave my head, I'd look just like Buddha's son. Lu Chenju ended his cultivation session and looked towards the main trunk of the martial arts tree. Bodhi technique, 3rd layer 1%. If it hadn't been for this enlightening journey, this freely cultivated secret method wouldn't reach the 3rd layer for at least a year or 2. How could it break through so quickly? Traveling until now, the gains had far exceeded Lu Chenju's expectations. He stood up and, using the morning light, looked out the window towards the courtyard. A towering figure like a Buddha statue with hands joined together stood silently in the cold northern morning wind. With the weather turning unusually cold this year, the heavy snow began just as winter started, and that person stood in the snow, meditating with closed eyes, his aura contained, in unity with heaven and man. Upon recognizing the face, Lu Chenju immediately went downstairs and pushed open the tower door. Young Lu Chenju, I have seen Master Xuankong. Chapter 429. 280 Great Sun Heavenly Dragon, Ancestral Relic, True Inheritance every other generation, 3K for monthly ticket and subscription. Xuankong Temple. A remarkable temple in Jin, built suspended above a cliff. Su Zian called it a grand spectacle under the heavens. The monk before us was originally a temple keeper at Xuankong Temple, later noticed by a wandering enlightened monk who recognized his extraordinary bones and passed down his fist technique. As years drifted by, the enlightened monk reached nirvana. The 2 disciples he took on, however, grew into prominent figures that commanded respect in their domains. This enlightened monk was none other than Ling Kong Shangren. The senior disciple, Li Xiang, achieved a breakthrough of the 7th shackle, dubbing himself 4 Symbols Master. The junior disciple, Chen Lion, was known as the Xuankong Shangren. This individual was also a figure mentioned in textbooks. As the current head of Wutai Mountain and the founder of Martial Arts University, second only to the 14 strongest individuals at the absolute peak, Xuankong Shangren quietly waited here all night. The moment he opened his eyes, a naturally emanating invisible aura swept across Wutai Mountain like a shockwave, halting the wind and snow instantaneously. Xuankong Shangren evaluated the Dragon City chief before him. In his light brown eyes flowed golden light, reflecting the faint blue glow and clear mirror-like eyes of Lu Chenju, as he smiled and nodded, saying, "Congratulations, young friend, for mastering the bright mirror pupil." Lu Chenju bowed and said, I was engrossed in understanding and practicing the Tao, unaware that my senior was waiting here. Seeing Chuankang Shangren covered in wind and snow, he must have been waiting all night. How precious is the time of such a powerful figure, Chuankang Shangren said. I waited here as part of my practice in understanding the Tao. Do you wish to ask me what method I have comprehended? Yes. Lu Chenju then explained the contents of Formless Elephant chapter to Xuankang Shangren. Xuankang Shangren listened intently, memorizing every word and etching them in his mind. The secrets within were profound and extensive. It took a whole day and night to explain. The wind and snow had long ceased, and in front of the White Tower the old monk resumed sweeping. Although he did not understand the conversation between Lu Chenju and Xuankang Shangren, he was absorbed in it, and Xuankang Shangren did not dismiss him, allowing him to listen. The old monk believed that it must be a method created by Ling Kang Shangren. He felt relieved inside. With this, the regrets of the master have finally come to an end. After finishing his chores, the old monk left. The sun rose and set, and another day passed. Lu Chenju finally finished explaining the content of the Formless Elephant chapter, without missing a word. Xuankang Shangren slightly bowed his head and smiled. Thank you. I hope that the master's present can help complete it, fulfilling our ancestors' last wish. To fully implement this method will take a long time. Next, I intend to meet with Four Symbols Master Wan Shixian and other absolute peak strong individuals to discuss how to fully realize this method. Xuankang Shangren understood the importance of this method. Although it was just an idea, a draft, the hardest part in creating martial arts is often getting started. Once a direction is found, given the number of strong individuals and the level of martial arts theory in Dazia today, with combined efforts, there would come a day when it could be completed. Xuankang Shangren said, I have an item that I would like to give you, feeling it might be suitable. He pulled a pure white great cloak from his back, which was worn over his monk robes, embroidered with a golden heavenly dragon using golden threads. The dragon, coiling above a lonely peak with sunlight striking it, seemed to come to life in golden sunlight. This is the Great Sun Heavenly Dragon Cloak. Although it is only an intermediate divine weapon, it has been worn by Ling Kang Shangren and myself daily, accumulated elephant form Dao Yun over time. Wearing it may aid your future cultivation in phantom boxing. It is not a defensive weapon but a controlling one, absorbing the essence of the sun daily to replenish its energy. When faced with enemies, throwing it can morph into a great mighty heavenly dragon, and even those who have broken through the third shackles, if careless, might find themselves trapped. If you're lucky, even against a martial arts grandmaster, you may be able to control them briefly, and then escape swiftly as the cloak will burst into golden light and return to you, as long as you're not too far away. Hearing this introduction, Lu Chenju knew. This garment was undoubtedly the strongest divine weapon he had ever seen. Good luck, and it can control a martial arts grandmaster. What a concept! In the Great Yu dynasty, an innate expert possessing this garment could almost do as they pleased, as a grandmaster is the pinnacle among men. Lu Chenju asked, Senior, how likely is it to control a grandmaster? Xuankang Shangren thought for a moment and replied, Less than 1 in 5. All right. For a martial arts master, it should have about a 50% chance of success. For a martial arts expert, the success rate is about 90%. With your current strength, if you truly provoke a grandmaster-level enemy, even if you manage to control them briefly, it would still be difficult to escape. That's also true. Lu Chenju wasn't one to provoke such beings without cause. A casual punch from them would instantaneously kill me. What control, defense, escape, all nonsensical. The Xuankang master said, You can put it on now since I'm here. If the spirit of the divine weapon causes any trouble, I'll take care of it for you, to avoid any difficulties in subduing it. Intermediate divine weapons were not so easily subdued. Typically, only a martial arts master could reliably control them. That is unless it was like the Tiger Gall gun, which Chenju had captured at the lower grade divine weapon stage with a mutual understanding of hard intent, and then slowly promoted it to intermediate. Though the master trusted Chenju's strength, it was better to be safe than sorry. Chenju accepted the great cloak, which in shape was more akin to a cape or cloak, adopting a style that was both Buddhist and Taoist. Draped in it, he gained an added touch of heroic elegance. High-pitched dragon's roar suddenly filled his mind. Chenju was jolted spiritually. In his inner realm, a giant beast clad in golden scale armor, about 30 meters long with a slender body and limbs like fish fins, spiraled through the heavens. Its skull was flat like a crocodile's, and a single horn grew on its forehead, shimmering with light waves. This is a Bajiealong. Bajiealong, an ancient mutant beast, often appeared in the Jiangnan region and dominated the Yangtze River. In ancient times, it was one of the creatures subdued by Buddhist and Taoist masters when they exorcised demons, the Jiaolong. Its physical form mainly came in two types, one being the large python-like beasts or demons with horns on their heads resembling dragons, and the other being the Bajiealong, creatures adept at swimming, much like the Jiaolong. It appeared that this great cloak was likely made from the skin of a Bajiealong. As the spirit of the divine weapon invaded his mind, the martial arts treasure tree drew out thousands of branches, fighting the golden Bajiealong in the heavens. As expected of an intermediate divine weapon, its spiritual will was strong, influencing weather in the inner realm, and could actually battle evenly with the treasure tree. The mystic tiger spirit leaped and pounced on the Bajiealong, slamming it into the ground. Thousands of branches bound the Bajiealong tightly, rendering it immobile. Tiger Tai Sui dragged his sword forward and chopped it down from the air, executing it like an executioner, striking swiftly. The head of the Bajiealong, resembling a crocodile's, hit the ground. The inner realm returned to its normal state, serene and calm. The nearly complete divine palace suppressed it, causing no disturbance whatsoever. Chenju's spirit was as firm as fortified metal. All this occurred in the blink of an eye. Chenju opened his eyes. The great sun heavenly dragon cloak now snugly draped over his back, rustling in the winter wind, nourishing his spirit like a mountain stream, a product of the Dao Yun birthed from the long-term use by esteemed elders such as Ling Kong Shangren and Kong Master. Though these Dao Yun were not as vast as the ancient relics, their advantage lay in their enduring, gentle nourishment. With this treasure aiding him, the difficulty of Chenju's sixth realm breakthrough and fifth theory lessened, and both his spiritual cultivation and elephant form boxing could receive some enhancement. Truly, this was an invaluable treasure. Chenju expressed his gratitude. "Thank you, Senior, for your protection. I have subdued the divine weapon." The Kong Master smiled. "I was overly concerned. Vestment robes are precious items. By giving it to me, it won't significantly impact you, right?" Kong Master looked at Chenju and smiled. "For me, the vestment robe is more a token from my master. According to his last words, anyone who successfully comprehends the Tao would be considered Ling Kong's third disciple, hence my junior brother. It's only right and proper for me to pass this token to you to protect martial arts. Of course, this isn't an official discipleship ceremony. You needn't take it too seriously, nor should you worry about being burdened by unseen karmic ties. The sect doesn't require you to complete any missions either. Just continue your normal cultivation and strive to become stronger. You can consider me and the Four Symbols Master as your senior brothers, and should you need it, we can also transmit methods to you." Chenju became enlightened. So that was it, accepting disciples through their ability to comprehend the Tao. Before Ling Kong Shangren passed away, he must have also seen into the far future. He immediately gave a deep bow. "I already have a true inheritor master, but in martial arts, he who reaches it teaches it. In my heart, whether we undergo a formal discipleship or not, all of you elephant form predecessors are my masters. All right, I must take my leave now. Wudai Mountain has more than one site imbued with the master's Dao Yun. When you have time, you can stay here and observe and perceive on your own." After saying this, Kong Master strode away. Chenju watched his figure disappear and pondered inwardly. Hopefully it turns out well. Frankly speaking, the indefinite elephant script wasn't crucial for him. With the martial arts tree and the divine seed, he had already paved a broad path for himself. But he hoped for a world where everyone could be as mighty as dragons. This world needed formidable newcomers and heroic epics. But it also needed countless common folk and more like-minded comrades. He strolled along, reaching a riverbank and looked at his reflection. Heavenly dragon cloak, 10 directions boots, cold silkworm robe, tiger gall gun. Neither Tao nor Buddha, yet also Tao and Buddha. Chenju laughed heartily as he left. Soon after, he arrived at Buddha Light Temple. Here, amidst the Daoyun, he saw Ling Kong Shangren traveling to Jiangnan and encountering a Bajiealong in Zhenjiang, a mutant beast with strength comparable to a grandmaster, stirring up trouble. The master slaughtered it and found a torn red cassia inside the Bajie belly. Alas, Gold Mountain Monastery, once thriving, declined following the great monk's passing, now just a pile of ruins telling of its former glory. This red cassia was indeed once belonged to Master Wenda, stolen by a demon, then subsequently swallowed by Bajie and accidentally obtained by Ling Kong Shangren. Using the skin of Bajie, the master refashioned the cassia into a great cloak, thereafter carrying it on his back, wandering the world and slaying demons. After several transmissions, it came into Chenju's hands. This great sun heavenly dragon cloak is indeed extraordinary. A week later, Chenju finished his sightseeing and left Wudai Mountain. Chapter 430. 281 Yan Zhao has many righteous scholars, the number one immortal of Gun Dao, 4K. Deep within the void realm of Taiheng Mountain. Starfire Dragon City. Rumbling. A giant hand that encompassed the four symbols descended from the sky, its invisible force pressing down, slapping down a human-headed giant bird that emitted an immense aura of terror. The ground cracked open, and the giant bird exploded into a shower of feathers that flew in all directions. Old thing, I will come back. This giant bird, known as the Red Bright Demon Venerate, was equivalent to the seventh realm in martial arts and hailed from the Red Feather Restricted Zone, the closest to Starfire Dragon City. It had received faulty intelligence, thinking that the four symbols master was in seclusion, so it led a void tide and attacked the city in full force trying to breach it. Unexpectedly, it fell into an ambush set by the four symbols master, losing not only its dignity but also its troops, suffering heavy casualties. It managed to escape only by self-destructing, which greatly reduced its strength. The four symbols master looked at the remnants of demon beasts scattered across the ground and muttered to himself. Pity, we still couldn't capture that scruffy bird. Such tricks can only be used once. Dealing much with these demons, they learn from their mistakes and won't easily be fooled. But these demon materials will be enough for a long time. Since the collision with the Void Realm, Dazia had chosen not to always be on the defensive. Sometimes, they would employ common military tactics to actively design strategies that weaken the strength of the restricted zones, while simultaneously enhancing their military strength in multiple dimensions through battle. For some restricted zones, it was their first time engaging in massive-scale warfare with humans, and some seemingly simple tactics could achieve good results when first applied. However, as the battle lines extended, both sides gradually came to know each other better. It then became difficult to achieve victory by surprise, making the War of Civilizations a true test of absolute strength. For humanity, one was technology, the other was martial arts. How to move large-scale destructive weapons from the human world into the Void Realm to crush these demon ghosts with a more advanced tide of steel was an urgent problem to solve. In terms of martial arts, the priority was to have practitioners break through to the 8th and even the 9th shackles as soon as possible. As an absolute peak strong. These were things the four symbols master often pondered. Swoosh, a figure sliced through the gloomy dark night, landing on the city wall. It was the hanging master. Wudai Mountain did not have its own Starfire city. The two closely associated brother schools shared one city, naturally sharing both the spoils and the dishonors. Junior brother, how are things? Lu Chenju has successfully entered the Dao. Indeed, this boy is extraordinary. This young one, able to make Zhang Zhu reveal holiness and realize the Tao in the Shaolin Temple's kitchen, and now even receiving the direct true inheritance from his master. Where on earth does his divinity come from? I don't know either, but if he exists, it's reasonable. It's a good thing. Every time a great calamity approaches human civilization, it's normal for some people who defy common sense to emerge amidst the tides of the era. LV Zhu, Zhang Zhu, Dharma, Kong Wen, Master. All the great powers of ancient times were just the same. Wan Shixian and the Dragon King were the same, especially the Dragon King. His rise was even more illogical than Lu Chenju's current path. Many say the Dragon King is fated by heaven, but I don't see it that way. Heaven and earth are unkind. It's not fate but humanity itself that changes human destiny. Perhaps it is the burgeoning development of human civilization that forms this luck, spawning these trendsetters. Without the Dragon King, other remarkable people would emerge. Lu Chenju might just be such a person. I see the shadow of my master in him. Speaking of their master, the hanging master's gaze grew reminiscent. Indeed, both had low-class root bones, each gaining sudden enlightenment. Just that master's enlightenment came too late. The hanging master passed the formless elephant scripture to the four symbols master. This absolute peak pondered for a moment and said, "The incredible ideas before master entered the Tao, even now as I've reached the absolute peak, seem astonishing. His foresight and knowledge indeed surpass the era. But with the combined strength of our two schools, implementing these theoretical ideas requires too long, and with the void realm looming, human civilization doesn't have much time." The hanging master asked, "Should we invite the other absolute peaks?" The four symbols master replied, "First, let's ask one Shixian and the Dragon King. One is as wise as LV Zhu, and the other is a fated dragon. Their influence is the strongest. Then we can invite other peak practitioners." Yanzhou has always had many righteous scholars. As the land of martial arts, it has produced countless famous martial arts figures. Among them were many valiant generals from ancient dynasties. Lu Chenju practiced Gun Dao. Apart from the Yang and Yue families, two great martial general families, he faced another insurmountable peak, spear immortal Zhao Wenlong. Leaving Wudai Mountain, he came to the lands of Yanzhou to experience the atmosphere of the land of martial arts. Soon after, an ordinary northern village. The divine chariot arrived, drawing the attention of many elders. The car stopped in front of the spear immortal temple. As he got off, a man with a disheveled beard and a body like a tiger's back and bear's waist approached. He stood with arms crossed, exuding the aura of a martial arts master. "I knew the chief of Dragon City would come here to seek the Tao." "And you are?" "Little white dragon Zhao Yunzong, guardian of the spear immortal temple, descendant of the spear immortal." Lu Chenju sized up this robust man, thinking to himself, "Brother, your demeanor doesn't quite match the little white dragon." He politely asked, looking at Senior Zhao's demeanor, "Are you suggesting a sparring match?" Zhao Yunzong drew his long spear, smiling. "I've heard much of your superb spear skills and have come to learn a lesson. You've previously broken through the second shackles and wield a divine weapon, so you probably wouldn't mind me using a bit of force against a junior." Lu Chenju pulled out his long unused tiger gall, smiling. "Then bring it on." His eyes shimmered with a blue light, instantly recognizing that Zhao Yunzong's chi mechanism of the second shackles wasn't very stable, suggesting he had only recently entered this realm, and his strength might still be less than that assassin's. Chapter 431. 281 Yan Zhao has many righteous people. Gun Dao is the number one immortal, 4K/2. After contemplating Dao for so long, he too was itching to act. "I use the White Dragon Spear technique, a middle-grade true skill passed down from my ancestors. Although it's not yet perfected, its power is immense. Swords and spears are blind, so you'd better be careful." It was evident that Zhao Yunzong was confident in his spear technique. He himself was also a prodigy of the young generation at the Imperial Capital Martial Arts University. "Martial King Spear, self-created by me." "Oh, self-created?" "Yes." "Ha, then let me test out this spear technique of yours." Zhao Yunzong's battle intent intensified. He held his spear in his right hand, taking the initiative to strike first. A glint of cold light appeared suddenly, followed by the spear thrusting forward like a dragon. Zhao family's spear technique, extraordinarily fierce. Lu Chenju swung his spear in a sweeping motion, blocking the spear light while the shaft of his spear shimmered with golden light, like a great sun radiating light and heat, intending to force Zhao Yunzong back. This sweeping spear strike, quite powerful. Zhao Yunzong did not retreat but advanced instead. A silvery, intangible white dragon emerged behind him, its spirit and the long spear intertwined, carrying a tremendous spiritual shock within the momentum of the spear. White Dragon Spitting Pearl. A silver long spear flowed with innate true chi, shattered the diffused spear shadows, pierced straight through like aiming for the yellow dragon, targeting Lu Chenju's chest directly, with the spear tip gleaming like a dragon pearl. Bang! The dragon pearl exploded, reverberating through the air. Thum! A prolonged bell sound arose from the void. Lu Chenju stood immovable as a mountain, bracing against the spear light. His figure stepped through the air amid thunderous roars, transforming into a blazing golden light, instantly flashing in front of Zhao Yunzong. The latter's long spear trembled left and right as his figure continued to retreat. Was that just Golden Bell Shield? His offensive movements were blocked by an invisible barrier. He didn't understand cross-training and mistook the bell sound for the Golden Bell Shield. This is the Ming King body. Lu Chenju pressed forward, his entire body enhanced by top-quality equipment, unleashing the full force of his spear technique's power, quickly cornering this descendant of the spear immortal. White Dragon ascending. Zhao Yunzong's long spear trembled like a drill, him and his following White Dragon spirit enhancing each other, swirling upward, creating a tornado-like force, annihilating everything. Lu Chenju was swept up into the air by the wind pressure, the golden bell shattered. Then it was the golden film, where the power was shredded. Ultimately, these forces were dispersed by the cold silkworm robe landed on his body, which for Lu Chenju, who had cultivated the dragon whisker fruit, it was nothing more than a minor external injury. Yet a breakthrough so many defenses. The might of this strike was indeed terrifying. It must be a martial arts killing move. Martial King sweeps the six kingdoms. He rotated his long spear, creating a counter-rotating whirlwind. Boom! Two energies collided, exploding outward, lifting an invisible shockwave that swept away fallen leaves. Lu Chenju, from a high stance, had a flash of inspiration in his mind. Relying on wind step, he stepped consecutively 4 times in the air, launching a spear strike from each of the southeast, southwest, northeast, and northwest directions, respectively, each move swift as lightning. Zhao Yunzong had no escape and leapt up. At this moment, Lu Chenju had just landed. His body instantly bent, like a bow with arms as strings, the spear like an arrow lunging towards the sky, instantly completing an upward stab. This strike left Zhao Yunzong with no room to dodge. He twisted his body, like a crocodile performing a death roll, stabbing downwards, clashing with the Tiger Gall gun in a life-threatening move. The spear tips collided, the Tiger Gall gun's light flickering against true chi. The yellow dragon from the inner realm rose into the sky, boosted by treasure energy, momentarily increasing his chi power. Break. Stab. Great strength bore miracles. The Tiger Gall gun burst out with irresistible force, tearing through the true chi and colliding with the alloy long spear, relying on the power of the divine weapon, effortlessly rending it into 2 pieces. Clang! The spear tip stopped right in front of Zhao Yunzong's face, suddenly halting. Zhao Yunzong dodged this strike in a flash. After landing, he was still in a state of shock. After catching his breath for a moment, he clasped his hands and said, "Excellent spear technique, I admit defeat." The rumor about his reverse attack break 2 seems to be true. That move, White Dragon Ascending, is a martial arts killing move from the ancestral White Dragon spear technique. Invincible, yet it was broken by Lu Chenju with his self-created spear technique. At that moment, Zhao Yunzong admitted defeat. This martial king spear is not bad. At such a young age, to create such a spear technique. As a descendant of the spear immortal, Zhao Yunzong was thoroughly convinced. Lu Chenju smiled and said, "Senior, you flatter me too much. I merely relied on the power of a divine weapon. I am not as strong as you. Calling me senior is too much honor." Zhao Yunzong was only 3 years older than Lu Chenju, though he looked significantly more seasoned. He had heard about Lu Chenju from his junior fellow disciple Huo Tiandian quite early on. He too had once held the first rank at the imperial capital's martial arts university. The two did not get to know each other without fighting, and they quickly became close due to common friends and hobbies, wishing they had met sooner. The 2 figures vanished inside the gun immortal temple. The surrounding villagers dispersed, all exclaiming it had been a spectacular show. Inside the temple, Zhao Yunzong spoke. This temple was originally where the gun immortal practiced spear techniques as a child. At the end of the Great Yu era, when the world was divided into 3, the gun immortal was born, followed a wise ruler to battle everywhere, achieved great deeds, and returned in his later years to this place to comprehend the way of the spear technique, eventually entering the 4th realm and becoming a land immortal. The name of the gun immortal has been passed down ever since. These were also contents from the history of martial arts. Lu Chenju observed the rusty weapon rack and the dense puncture holes on the green stone slab in the courtyard, all traces of the gun immortal's childhood practice sessions. Lu Chenju's understanding of spear theory had long reached the 4th realm. His years of cultivation had seen advancements. Yet he was still far from the 5th realm. In the same 4th realm, Zhao Yunzong's foundation was superior to his. He could defeat him solely by relying on cross-training and the power of divine weapons. "I hope to gain something here." Seeing Lu Chenju seeming to start comprehending the way, Zhao Yunzong gently closed the temple doors. He stood outside, pulling out a spear manual to practice. This guy, is he truly a versatile prodigy? It's one thing mastering Buddha Dao, but instantly comprehending the essence of military spear techniques as well, something that took me 3 days. He might be a fake descendant of the gun immortal. Inside the temple, a new day had dawned. Armor clashing, battlefield smoke. Lu Chenju found himself on a battlefield where he saw a young general, tall and well-proportioned, riding a white horse, carrying a silver spear, galloping through the enemy forces. His level of mastery in spear technique was seldom seen, at least of the sixth realm standard. Yet his aura was merely at the level of a martial arts master. Worthy of being a gun immortal, a great figure from the ancient times. Understanding of spear technique that transcends eras. The silver spear in the general's hands danced, morphing into a silver divine dragon coiling around the battlefield. The dragon raised its head, swept its tail, spat pearls and probed with its claws. At one moment, surrounded by a myriad of troops, the general's eyes blazed like torches. The air behind him filled with more of the white dragon spirit than Zhao Yunzong ever had, followed by thousands of frosty glints emerging suddenly, dense as cow hair. The shadows of his spear swept across the army as he laughed and burst through the encirclement, elegant and carefree. Ever victorious, the dragon of Yanzhao. In the last moments of his intense battle with Zhao Yunzong, Lu Chenju's heart to wisdom had almost grasped a move that could block enemies from all directions. Yet it was still lacking. If not for the power of the Tiger Gall divine spear, that move would have been countered. Now, as he observed the gun immortal's combat, his understanding gradually deepened. So that's it, my move only had form but lacked the momentum of spear technique, lacking an unrivaled aura of domination. It lacked soul. Spear techniques are for breaking formations. On the battlefield, no matter the strength or weakness, win or lose, whatever the situation, one must disdain the enemy in aura, but take them seriously tactically. Lu Chenju drew his long spear and danced it around the courtyard. The recent battle scenes flashed before him like a slideshow. As he reviewed and reflected on the essence of the gun immortal's way, correlating both, the inspired moves gradually took shape and became clear in his mind. Unknowingly, before Lu Chenju appeared the figure of an aged general. Tall and solemn, silently charging towards Lu Chenju with a spear, the same white dragon spear technique, the same moves. The old general was many times stronger than Zhao Yunzong. This was the aged gun immortal. At this moment, the elderly general's intention form in the spear technique had already surpassed the boundaries of the sixth realm of fist theory, stepping into the ethereal Tao realm, and he had wandered far within it. Perhaps even some of the current great masters in the way of the spear could not compare. After all, this was the first immortal of the spear technique, a pathbreaker. In the hearts of those who practice spear technique, his status was not inferior to LV Zhu's in the Taoist gate. Young and old, separated by time, clashing across ancient and modern epics. Chapter 432, 282 Climbing to the Pinnacle, Surpassing the Master, Creating One's Own Killing Move 4K. Inside the temple, the north wind was swift, and the cold pierced to the bone. On the martial arts training ground, Lu Chenju appeared to be practicing spear techniques alone, yet it seemed as though he was sparring with someone. He moved with a nimbleness that kicked up gusts of wind, shooting towards the sky. Zhao Yunzong looked toward the temple, his expression turning serious in an instant. This feeling, when he had his enlightenment, it wasn't with such resonance. In his eyes, Lu Chenju's every move was like a fierce battle against a spear skill master. It was as if an invisible and colorless, yet genuine master was using a spear technique all too familiar to him, feeding Lu Chenju the moves. If Lu Chenju were to be likened to a figure in an ink painting, the negative space around the lines of the character would perfectly form this transparent master, which was quite extraordinary. The ancestor has shown his saintliness. He is teaching Lu Chenju the spear techniques across space. Zhao Yunzong held his breath, eyes unblinking. He feared missing any part of the white dragon spear technique that was being passed down through the air by the ancestor. As he continued to watch, he seemed to come to an understanding, and outside the temple he too began practicing the ancestral spear technique. Using the same techniques, his performance now carried even more rhythm. Inspiration. Heaven showed mercy. The last time he experienced such inspiration had been 3 years prior. Unexpectedly, by observing Lu Chenju's path to enlightenment, it brought him such benefits. Zhao Yunzong was delighted in his heart, regardless of whether his cultivation level was high or low. From now on, Lu Chenju was his elder brother. Inside the courtyard, Lu Chenju was immersed in the world of Daoyuan. Time slipped away. The veteran general opposite him intensified his spear techniques from every direction, enveloping Lu Chenju in a vast world crafted from his long spear. Martial King sweeps the six kingdoms. Lu Chenju utilized all of his techniques, his spear skills interweaving, transforming into a tornado reaching for the heavens, trying to break through the encirclement. However, the intangible world of the spear compressed in, sealing him off. Despair, oppression, bewilderment, followed by death. With one last struggle, his figure dissipated and left the illusion. Opening his eyes, Lu Chenju's gaze was ponderous. I lost, utterly trounced. He could sense that the general from the world of Daoyuan had perhaps done it on purpose. His cultivation wasn't as profound as Lu Chenju's, just at the initial level for a martial artist. In the real world, he could easily crush such an opponent. He had his invincible cross-training, his chi blood that transcended shackles, his divine weapon support. These techniques allowed him to defeat, essentially 2 levels higher opponents. But in the illusion of the gun immortal temple, none of this existed. He and the old general both were at the initial realm of a martial artist, with only their spear skills to rely on. Setting aside external forces, his spear skill level was not even comparable to Zhao Yunzong's, let alone masters like Yang Tian and Wu Jinlong that he had seen in Magic City. And this one before him was the spear immortal. That he had lasted so long was already beyond the norm. If I could comprehend that move just now, perhaps I'd stand a chance. Lu Chenju hugged his spear, lost in deep thought. Shoo shoo shoo. There was also the sound of spears whistling outside. Zhao Yunzong, in his inspired state, taking his spear skills to a new level, and Lu Chenju compared him with the spear immortal from the illusion. It's the same white dragon spear technique, so why is there such a large gap? Zhao Yunzong's spear skills, although not yet perfected, should certainly be at the level of great success, without flaws. Lu Chenju leaned against the wall, resting while observing. The martial arts tree could grant him rewards for his efforts in the technical aspects of martial arts practice, but when it came to the elusive fist theory of cultivation, he had to work it out for himself. A qualified martial artist should also maintain constant reflection. Unconsciously, the sun set in the west, evening had arrived. Lu Chenju watched Zhao Yunzong practicing his spear skills meticulously. Within any group of 3, there must be one who can be my teacher, especially since the man's spear skills were truly superior to his own. He wanted to consult Zhao Yunzong about the issue that had just arisen. Round Zhao Yunzong, clouds and mist arose as he solemnly gave his thanks. Brother Lu's great kindness, I will remember it in my heart. You are my elder brother. Lu Chenju was slightly taken aback. What do you mean, Brother Zhao? Zhao Yunzong replied. By observing Brother Lu practice his spear, I was inspired and reaped great benefits. My ancestral white dragon spear technique has advanced further, nearing perfection. And that intangible gun theory of the 5th realm, I've grasped some of it, yet I'm just shy of penetrating that final barrier. Lu Chenju gave a wry smile. I see, then this is the credit of your ancestor. I am undeserving. By the way, Brother Zhao, can you tell me about the details when you attained enlightenment in the temple before? Zhao Yunzong took a sip of water and sat down on the ground. When I came to enlightenment, it was as if I viewed life through the eyes of my ancestor, following him in a lifetime of campaigns, warring in all directions, fighting on the battlefield against enemies, and eventually grasped this white dragon spear technique. This was the technique my ancestor became famous for in his youth, but due to the passage of time and changes in the family, it was ultimately lost. Unexpectedly, it was recovered in the world of Daoyuan. Lu Chenju contemplated and inquired. As a descendant of the spear immortal, did your ancestor leave you with any instructions? Zhao Yunzong laughed. Brother Lu jests, how could the ancestor, long passed away, have left any instructions? Zhao Yunzong suddenly remembered the transparent master who had fought with Lu Chenju. Brother Lu, could it be that you've communicated with my ancestor across the ages? Although such an event was unheard of and unseen before. But the wonders of Daoyuan were mysterious, and with the ancestor being the foremost spear immortal, it wasn't entirely impossible. Lu Chenju shook his head. Not at all, it was just that in the illusion, a general who is likely to be your ancestor, sparred with me using spear techniques. His cultivation was comparable to mine, yet his mastery of the spear was countless times greater than mine. I fought with all my might and was effortlessly defeated. Zhao Yunzong's expression was shaken as he said, "That must have been my ancestor. He really didn't say anything." Lu Chenju shook his head. Chapter 433. 282 Climbing to the Pinnacle, Surpassing the Master, Creating One's Own Killing Move, 4K/2. Zhao Yunzong sighed. The Daoyun location offers different insights to different people. Brother Lu, what you've realized must be the way of the upper level. Being able to spar with an ancestor through the void is like receiving pointers from a great grandmaster who has transcended the realm of the Six Harmony Spear and achieved enlightenment in martial arts. The benefits are endless. He felt envy in his heart. If only he could do the same. His spear skill realm would surely have stepped into the fifth realm by now. Indeed, Lu Chenju felt his mastery of spear techniques had improved rapidly just now, and he was only a little short of perfecting the move he wanted to create. Alas, he had been defeated and left the illusion. After the first successful understanding in the Daoyun location, one could reap many benefits. Afterward, it became very difficult to enter the state, and even if one managed to do so, the yield would likely be small. He found this regrettable. He was not in a hurry to travel at this moment, and thus sat down right there. "Brother Zhao, I have a few questions about spear techniques that I'd like to ask you." "Feel free to ask, big brother. I will withhold nothing." "You are older than me, so I shall call you big brother." "Don't, you are more likely to surpass me in achievements. You have the makings of an absolute peak. But it's fine, you can call me big brother, just don't regret it when you reach absolute peak, haha." Zhao Yunzong began to fantasize about the day when an absolute peak figure would call him big brother. As night fell, the two sat and discussed Dao, enjoying a pleasant conversation. The next day, as dawn broke, the two brothers finished exchanging ideas. Lu Chenju seemed to have gained some insights and continued his spear training. He was traveling without a plan, content to go with the flow. He'd leave whenever he grasped that move. Zhao Yunzong, acting as the temple guardian, spent his days chatting with the elders in the village, suffering from a lack of martial arts discourse, and treasured Lu Chenju's company like a precious gem. Cultivation exchanged sparring. Time flew like an arrow, and in the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. During that time, Lu Chenju attempted a second enlightenment in the Gun Immortal Temple. He always felt that the martial arts will left by the spear immortal for sparring was meant to test and challenge the younger generation, and it should theoretically allow for multiple enlightenments and repeated use. Otherwise, without a divine weapon and equal cultivation, even looking across the Xia today, few could defeat the illusion of the spear immortal. He had plenty of time, and he would try slowly. Without Daoyun, he was also confident in realizing that move. On this day, another figure rushed over from the imperial capital. "Ha, brother Lu, long time no see." Huoshan Dian arrived, energetic with a large spear on his back. He had become a martial artist for some time. His strength was not bad either, possessing 0.8 of Wang Hongdao's power. So far, he had been defeated by Lu Chenju 8 times. "Long time no see, brother Huo." When the two met, their way of greeting was to start a fight. As the battle began, Lu Chenju executed the move he was in the middle of comprehending. Before Huoshan Dian could even warm up, spear shadows plowed toward him from the northeast, southwest, and the 4 directions of the 8 trigrams. Huoshan Dian used the 6 Harmony spear and barely managed to block 6 spear shadows. But the spear shadows coming from the Cayenne Gua and Kun Gua direction surged like waves and blasted him into the air, stringing him up on tree branches. "It's not playtime like this, right?" Huoshan Dian was all covered in dust, his face in disbelief. A fight starting with a mighty move that could vanquish heaven and earth. Who could stand against it? Zhao Yunzong burst into laughter. "Brother Lu, your move, blocking the enemy from the 8 trigrams directions, is brilliant." He knew that Lu Chenju was trying to create his own spear technique. This was not simple integration, so it was even more challenging. If Brother Lu could completely create his own true skill-level spear technique, then his spear skill realm would not be far from the 5th realm. Huoshan Dian jumped down from the tree and sighed. "The gap is getting wider. That's my 9th defeat, and I have a strange feeling that once I collect 999 defeats, my fortune will come, and my cultivation will advance a level." Zhao Yunzong asked. Why do you have that feeling? It's written like that in the novels. After seeking defeat and losing, Huotian Dian left. Being from Yanzhou, he had tried to gain enlightenment in the Gun Immortal Temple early on, to no avail. Recently, after reaching the third realm in his spear technique, he tried again, but still no success. He was no weirdo like Lu Chenju. Recently, the world began to rumor that Lu Chenju was the child of the era. Otherwise, there would be no way to explain his celestial journey that defied the Buddha Tao. Crows fly by and rabbits run. A month quickly gone. Lu Chenju set off in the summer, and now it was the end of December. The Siberian wind was as sharp as a knife, growing fiercer by the day. He had been living in the Gun Immortal Temple with Zhao Yunzong for some time now. This journey had allowed him to meet many like-minded individuals. After the 140th acupoint, the difficulty of opening the remaining 10 began to increase gradually. At this stage, Lu Chenju had few lessons to learn, with the only martial arts left to complete being hard qigong and inner strength. For inner strength, his qi blood was already near its limit, and he had paused his cultivation to avoid waste. Without sparring conditions in the village for hard qigong, he simply cultivated as fate willed him, at most practicing hand-to-hand combat with Zhao Yunzong, intentionally taking hits to maintain the feel of cross-training. Therefore, aside from creating spear skill techniques, he spent all his other time on opening acupoints. 144 acupoints now. By the looks of it, I should be able to fill them all by the beginning of next year. The conditions for breaking his shackles were mostly satisfied. After perfecting his acupoints, he just needed some time to polish his innate strength to flawlessness both inside and out. Then, making his body compatible with the different species power he had cultivated together, he could pick an auspicious day to attempt a breakthrough realm. He was brimming with confidence. This roaming journey had transformed him profoundly. The most difficult aspect during the breakthrough was the power compatibility, but with the yin-yang special effect as a boost, the problem wasn't significant. This month, Lu Chenju had been repeatedly attempting enlightenment at the Gun Immortal Temple, failing and fighting again and again. Today, he stepped into the temple once more. In an instant, the heavens and earth shifted, and an ancient figure appeared silently, spear in hand, launching an attack. Ha ha ha, here it comes. Lu Chenju laughed loudly. As he expected, the Gun Immortal Temple allowed for repeated enlightenment. After a month of spear training, his spear skill realm had improved considerably. Come fight. Bang bang bang. Two figures once again crossed blades across time and space, Lu Chenju's aura sword. With his martial king true body controlling a tiger on the left and lifting a swallow on the right, man and spear united. He roared, channeling all of the enlightenment from the past month into the spear thrust that followed. Martial arts killing moved 10 directions ceiling. Round the old man, a 10-jang diameter phantom of the 8 trigrams faintly appeared. The martial king true body took its position in the center of the 8 trigrams. The banner waved, summoning soldiers from all 10 directions. In the positions of the 8 trigrams, above and below, spear shadows surfaced in all 10 directions. This was the pinnacle move of Lu Chenju's spear technique. Emulating the spear immortal, he merged the overwhelming Qi Po and spear skill seamlessly. Under entwined Qi mechanisms, he sealed the enemy from all positions, his strongest and most lethal move. He intended to use the spear immortal before him as proof of his technique. Boom boom boom. From all 10 directions, countless horses thundered across. Spear shadows crowded and pressed in from everywhere. This is my world of spear, please enlighten me, senior. The spear realm swept across, and for the first time, a glint of light twinkled in the old man's calm eyes. The faintest of smiles appeared at the corner of his mouth as he thrust toward the Kan Gua position. White dragon spitting pearl. This thrust transformed into a white dragon that charged into the ranks, forcefully creating an opening. The old man twirled his spear and struck, slicing out 100 spear shadows in a single breath. Break! With one strike, Lu Chenju's 10 directions ceiling was shattered. The old man gently tapped, his spear piercing Lu Chenju's chest like a beam of light. Lu Chenju's form became illusory, beginning to dissolve. He was overjoyed, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. Before vanishing into the illusion, he saw the old man nod slightly. He heard the spear immortal's voice, warned by time. This thrust not bad. Boom! Lu Chenju opened his eyes, still in the dilapidated ancient temple. Zhao Yunzong pushed open the door, looking at the pale-faced Lu Chenju, and asked, "Brother Lu, what happened? Are you all right?" Lu Chenju exhaled turbid breath and smiled. "I'm fine, just exhausted from creating a new spear technique." "Did you succeed?" "Yes, preliminarily successful." Lu Chenju recalled the old man, who casually solved his killing move. The road ahead was long, and his path to excellence was far. When he could rely on his spear technique to defeat the spectral vision of the spear immortal, his mastery over the spear would certainly rank among the very top in De Zia. After taking the great medicine, Lu Chenju sat down to regulate his breath. He looked towards the martial arts tree in his mind. The leaves of Martial King's spear were shining brightly, not with the faint light of inspiration striking the spirit, but with a multicolored, flowing radiance. Reaching the pinnacle, surpassing the master, a metamorphosis of spear technique. Chapter 434, 283 at the peak, one sees the heavens and the earth. With a glance, one observes all living beings, 3K votes for monthly ticket and subscription requests. Reaching the pinnacle, surpassing the master. Lu Chenju saw such a prompt from the martial arts tree for the first time. Under the swaying shadow of the tree, with an enlightened look in his eyes, he realized. There are two paths to elevate the level of martial arts. The first is to integrate and comprehend, to reorganize the martial arts created by predecessors and turn them into high-level martial arts of one's own. The second is to continue inferring based on one's own understanding and wisdom upon the foundation laid by others, taking the essence and discarding the dregs, and constantly adding unique routines and moves. Once a certain level is reached, it can lead to a qualitative change in martial arts. Without a doubt, the first method was relatively easy and convenient, requiring lesser martial arts comprehension and achievement from the cultivator, and with lower technical content, making it suitable for ordinary martial artists. But to become a pathbreaker, one cannot forever remain behind others, integrating and comprehending. One must innovate from the ground up and grasp one's own unique content. The second method had a much higher technical content and is also a necessary quality for becoming a pathbreaker. Take Tathagata Divine Palm as an example. Originally, it only had 6 forms. The initial version could not be considered a supreme divine skill, but could be said to have a certain prototype and theoretical foundation. Master Hui Kong, with his great wisdom and Buddhist law, optimized the original cultivation techniques, brought out the old to usher in the new, and deduced the 7th, 8th, and the critical 9th form, 1,000 Buddhas to ancestors. Tathagata Divine Palm underwent a complete transformation, ascending to the ranks of a supreme divine skill. The first phase of Martial King's spear was obtained through Lu Chenju's integration and comprehension of others' spear skills. Although it contained his unique creativity, it was not much. But from today onwards, after his comprehension of the martial arts killing move, sealing all 10 directions, this spear skill has embarked on a path of uniqueness. One day, this spear skill would become his signature and unique skill. Just like Yang Ju's sea covering Great Saint Spear, it would occupy a place in the path of the spear. Of course, creating a completely original spear skill also had its drawbacks. The first is that it tests martial arts comprehension, and second, it requires luck and opportunities, possibly a stroke of genius or an inspiration. In short, it needs a source of inspiration, and for him, creating this source of insight was the battle with Zhao Yunzong. A month of deep contemplation, guidance from the spear immortal from afar. These are the keys to creation. Relatively speaking, integration and comprehension are more stable. On the martial arts tree, the 7-colored light faded away. Martial King Spear, 4th rank transformed, perfection. Divine Seed Martial King's Heaven Conquest, 4th rank plus, hidden within the Kai Z acupoint. Effect 7. Sealing all 10 directions, converge essence, spirit, and chi po, intertwining spirit and spear formation, rapidly thrusting from all 10 directions with the spear to lock the enemy in all aspects of the spear's world. Indeed, after comprehending the martial arts killing move, without integrating other martial arts, the level of spear skill has been elevated, and the effect of the divine seed has accordingly improved. Lu Chenju could not hide his joy. What seemed like a small step was a major stride on his martial path, with its significance even surpassing that of Heavenly Destiny Mystic Tiger Fist, advancing to 5th rank. Original creation is good, but at this stage, it can only serve as auxiliary. Comparing the two, learning from others is faster and more stable. Main practice boxing should primarily be about integrating, and with spear as the secondary practice, since I've made a good start, I should attempt to continue on this path on my own. The next day, after a period of rest, Lu Chenju packed his bags. Looking at the gun immortal temple, he bowed and said, "Thank you, Senior." He had achieved his goal. Having stayed here for a month, it was time to leave. When his spear skill realm improved, he might have the chance to return here to challenge and verify his spear skills. One day, he would defeat the phantom of the spear immortal with his own created spear skill. At the village entrance, Lu Chenju and Zhao Yunzong embraced and said farewell. "Brother Lu, do visit often. I wish you success in breaking second. Brother Zhao, take care, and may your spear skill reach new heights too. Keep in touch. Where are you headed next?" "Jiangnan Mountain, perhaps, to see if there are immortals in this world." "Brother Lu, is it possible that you are the immortal?" The two of them joked with each other. Before leaving, Zhao Yunzong asked, "Brother Lu, I have one more request to ask of you." Lu Chenju turned around and smiled. "Are you looking to experience my killing move?" Zhao Yunzong nodded with battle intent soaring. Lu Chenju withdrew his long spear with a backhanded pull, his momentous aura erupting like a volcano, infinite dust billowing as the martial king true body descended amidst the sandstorm. When the spear thrust forward, it was like a rainbow, like a dragon. A sky full of spear shadows, sealing all 10 directions. The world of the spear had arrived. Zhao Yunzong made his move, his spear transforming into a white dragon, roaring as it flew towards the position of the Kan Trigon, with the spirit of the white dragon and the martial king true body colliding in midair behind him. Thunderous booms. After silence came the thunderclap. After the spear strike across the void, Lu Chenju returned his spear and walked towards the divine chariot. This strike was a match of equals in strength. He hadn't relied on the power of a divine weapon. It was purely a contest of spear skills. Coincidentally, Zhao Yunzong also used the same method as his ancestors to attack the Kan position and break the 10-directional seal, which touched something inside him. "Brother Lu, until we meet again." Zhao Yunzong stood in place, waving goodbye. Around him, ferocious cracks spread across the ground. These were all created by Lu Chenju's spear strike across the void. He watched as the divine chariot ascended into the sky. In a trance, he saw a semblance of his ancestor. Just as full of youthful vigor, just as boldly advancing. A month a journey a friend. Swords clashing and meeting through martial arts. This is the way of martial arts. Traveling westward. Before long, Lu Chenju arrived at Chang'an City. As the capital of the Dragon Dynasty, its prosperity remained undiminished, as lively as in days of old. Lu Chenju, having made significant progress in his spear skills and increased his strength, strolled through the ancient city, admiring the sights and indulging in history, feeling the exhilaration of riding swiftly with the spring breeze, in just one day admiring all the flowers of Chang'an. The news of Lu Chenju's arrival in Chang'an spread quickly, and many local civil and government associations invited him to visit or exchange skills. All were politely declined by Lu Chenju. With fame comes difficulty in seeking a peaceful journey. Chang'an Square, 8 Immortals Temple. This was the place for taverns in ancient Chang'an. Lu Chenju stood with his hands behind his back, as lights and shadows flowed before his eyes. Raising my cup to invite the bright moon, alongside my shadow, we are 3. How could I bow and bend my knees to serve the rich and powerful? Boisterous laughter and drinking sounds vividly before him. Within the illusion, he saw a peerless sword immortal, drunk and staggering, whose breath turned into sword chi that cascaded like the Milky Way falling 9 heavens, sweeping away all the evils of Chang'an. Green Lotus Sword Immortal Li Teibai. His fame needed no introduction. The Dragon Dynasty housed numerous strong individuals, and many were masters of the sword Dao, but the most famous was the Green Lotus Sword Immortal, also known as the Alcohol Sword Immortal, who created the Kinglian sword technique. The Alcohol Sword Immortal sought immortality and wisdom, with exceptional literary grace. His life story was well known to every household. He was also an illustrious figure in the history of martial arts. However, even the Alcohol Sword Immortal had not entered the 5th realm. His unparalleled elegance had turned into a handful of yellow dirt. "What a pity," sighed Lu Chenju, shaking his head and leaving Chang'an. Not long after the Alcohol Sword Immortal entered the Dao, LV Zhu was born. This enlightenment had added some Dao Yun and fist theory realm comprehension, but he did not grasp martial arts. In fact, along his journey, those who could comprehend martial arts were few and far between. Perhaps Li Teibai was waiting for a more suitable successor. Zhongnan Mountain. Laoyuan sect, Zhonglu sect, Quanjin sect. The Taoist sects born here had a long and profound history. Countless scholars and literati have sought seclusion here through the ages. Lu Chenju roamed freely, primarily to follow the traces of LV Zhu and Zhang Zhu, and visited every potentially Dao Yun-enriched historic site over the course of 7 days. After the tour, he had achieved some minor gains. The martial arts tree had grown 17 zhang tall, unnoticed. One clear morning, alone on the mountaintop, he dined on morning glow and dew, swallowing clouds and breathing out mist. Dog Ghost stood by, acting as his protector. Ending his cultivation, he smiled and said, "It is rumored that Red Dragon True Man always appears in Zhongnan Mountain each time he shows up, yet I found nothing after 7 days of searching. Seems I'm not destined for such celestial encounters." He came here also to verify the actual existence of Red Dragon True Man. After all, the folktales say that Red Dragon True Man was the teaching benefactor of both LV Zhu and Zhang Zhu, a being from among the immortals. Looking around, Lu Chenju inhaled deeply, his breath like drums, and exhaled with a thunderous roar. Roar! A lion roar resounded for 10 miles, echoing for a long while within the valleys. Lu Chenju gazed upon the martial arts tree. Vajra lion roar, mastery 100%, right arrow small success 1%. Just roaring a few times a day and the proficiency goes up quickly. This sound wave technique, aside from being a bit harsh on the throat, is quick to cultivate with. I need to keep golden voice medicine handy. With that, he consumed a golden throat pill, purchased at the Martial Arts University on Songshan for 20,000 apiece. Buying 200 of them was enough for him to cultivate to perfection. Ending his cultivation, Lu Chenju descended the mountain and took to the skies on his divine chariot. Once the mountain forest grew calm again, the morning breeze, strong, pushing and chasing clouds downward. A gentle mountain wind brought faint singing that seemed to rise and fall. A rootless fire dragon, his name hidden in the void. Since passing through the 3 peaks, he returns to Pinglai, east of the weak water. With the sound of firecrackers, another year passed. In the blink of an eye, it was January 1, 2227. This was Lu Chenju's first time spending the new year away from home. On the road, he received countless messages of well wishes. His parents cautioned him to be careful during his travels, noting that fame can bring trouble just as pigs fear growing fat. His elder martial sisters asked him when he would return. Master Jai happily informed Lu Chenju that he had been receiving gifts lately, some from Breakthrough Third Shackles breakers. These people hoped to build a connection with Lu Chenju, the star of tomorrow, through his master, but Master Jai refused all gifts. After all, some gifts aren't so easily accepted. Principal Wang simply wished him a happy birthday. After replying to the messages, Lu Chenju continued westward. He went to the western regions, observing Buddhist law at Magao Caves. In the land of Heavenly Mansion, he met the 14th Absolute Peak Hong Taoist at Qingcheng Mountain and received guidance from his senior, advancing his cultivation and Taoist technique realm by leaps and bounds. Sword Gate is fraught with difficulty, harder than scaling the blue heavens. In Li Teibai's Teibai hometown, he saw the Kinglian sword immortal again, crossing swords in a battle of Dao Yun. Spears and swords clashed, an ancient battle unfolded with honor, albeit in defeat. In Manjusri Bodhisattva's Dharma realm, atop Imei Mountain, he realized a trace of world-annihilating sword intent at the Elephant Washing Pond, the very place where the washing elephant divine nun practiced her swordplay in youth. He traveled Shushan for a month, during which he slew dozens of void things. The tiger Gaul divine spear feasted on demon blood, and in the marketplace he savored the mortal world's hot pot, suddenly realizing how distant his life had become from the ordinary human experience. Unbeknownst to Wen, his world consisted solely of martial arts. But to have martial arts to pursue was enough. What more could one ask for? One day, he trekked the Himalayan mountains and climbed the towering Mount Everest. Beside him were martial artists, bare-chested as they climbed for training, and ordinary adventurers conquering nature with mortal bodies. Ordinary people and martial artists alike. The anthem of humanity, is an anthem of courage. Everyone is challenging their limits in their own way. Upon successful summiting, the ordinary climbers couldn't help but exclaim, "I came, I saw, I conquered." To our families, we've summited the world's highest peak. With martial artists, we could pluck the sun, moon, and stars with a raised hand. With a glance, we could take in mountains and rivers for thousands of miles. This journey, even death upon its completion, is worth it. Looking back on the ascent, on the climb to Everest, some had become eternally asleep, frozen there, forever warning those who follow. The mountain path is one carved out by countless lives. Much like martial arts, crafted through the combined efforts of people from all times. Luchenju's gaze and resolve became firmer. That night he comprehended the natural world from the summit. Humming sounds. In the inner realm, all the stars resonated. Here, he opened the 150th acupoint, middle sound acupoint. He had stepped over another major hurdle of the acupoints. His chi blood also reached its limit of 60 points. Luchenju stood up, looking towards the distant Kunlun mountain. Every journey has its endpoint. Along the way, I've witnessed the land and its creatures. Finally, it's time to truly meet myself.